Hello, everyone, and welcome back to SAFC and another edition of Thursday Night Live. Joining myself on the panel tonight, first and foremost, we have the Madness Steak. Terry, how are you doing?
Champion, COVID-free at this moment in time, so that's great.
Wonderful here. We're also joined by Thursday Night Live regular Jack Shields. Jack, how are you getting on?
Very good, very well. I'm doing all right. Bit gutted that Christmas and New Year's over and done with, but never mind.
It's always a very blue month, January, isn't it? And, of course, Dino Elgar. Dino, how are you doing?
Tired. Just tired.
Always tired. Always unenthusiastic, as always, Dino.
Yep, that's me, mate.
Well, at least he's denied. Anyway, lads, cracking on with the show. First bit of transfer news, of course, announced in the last few days. Trai Hume has joined for a reported £200,000 from Linfield FC in the top of the league, in the top Northern Irish division, a right back by trade. Apparently he's also got a history of playing in the middle of midfield as well. Had a good season apparently out on loan last year. This season he's played more or less, I think, nearly every game. He's been quite an important player for Linfield over in Northern Ireland. And I think he's scored twice and got 3 assists, I think. Comes with a lot of praise. A lot of them over there seem to be quite gutted that he's left the club. I think a few of them seem to be a bit worried. Because he was an important part of the team. Dino, I'll start with you. Does this bit of transfer news excite you? Are you happy to hear it?
It's positive. I mean, I don't know much about the bloke. I just know he's called Hume. I thought it was Hume's brother. I didn't know who it was. I thought, has Hume got a brother? But then I heard he came from Ireland, so might be a distant cousin. We don't know. Obviously, Irish League it's a little bit iffy because I don't know if the Irish League's actually any good. But we do need a right back. He is a right back, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
So we do need a right back. So at least we're targeting the weak areas of the team because we do need a right back. We're getting one. It's a good amount of money. It's not overly expensive. So if it doesn't work, we haven't lost like £1 million like we did on Charlie Wyke, for example, when we paid $1 million for him. What's that? Just on that, I think he's a young lad as well, so it's quite a risk-free kind of signing. You don't, because if he comes good, it looks great. If he doesn't, it's not that much money. So I'm just glad to see that we're targeting areas of the team which are quite weak. We all know we need a right back and maybe a left back, and it's great to see it. It's at the start of the window. It's not at the end in the last hour of the transfer window. We've got it done quite early, and hopefully there's more to come.
Yeah, I think it's a shrewd bit of business, really, isn't it? We've not really paid for us. £200,000 isn't a great deal of money for them. It's probably a heck of a lot more. I think the only thing that you could say it's a little bit of a risk transfer is how long he's here. If it was there for him to turn out that he wasn't very good, he is here 4.5 years as a minimum. That's a long time to have someone in the books. But I'm quite confident that he'll do quite well. To be honest, even just looking at the success of the last window, there was a lot of players who I wasn't really sure of, and I think. We've talked about Diaco a few times. We're not going to get into that again, but I think apart from him, every single player we've had, whenever I've seen them, has always impressed us. And even he's starting to impress us as well, starting to have good moments. None of us had heard of Carl Winchester at this time last year, or Ross Stewart at this time last year. Look at how great they've been so far this season. So as much as I think there are probably going to be question marks and nerves, everyone's going to be a little bit uncertain over how influential Hume can be with him coming from a league that looks to be, no disrespect, a lower standard of League One. I think looking at a previous transfer record, I think we look as if you've got a knack of bringing in players that maybe aren't as well known in this division, or aren't as well established in League One, who are coming in to make a good impact. Terry, I got you now. Are you happy with the news of Trai Hume?
Right, before we start, how do you know it's 200,000? I thought it was undisclosed.
It was an undisclosed fee, but it's reported 200,000. I think that's what the BBC have said, and we've seen the figure thrown about quite a lot.
I thought you were just making that up. No, okay, that's all right. No, 200,000 is like just bits. I don't know. It's like grains of sand to probably KLD, and it's not much at all for KLD. But like I say, it's a right back. Like Dino says, it's an area we're weak at this moment in time. We've only really got Bailey Wright, who's playing that kind of position now, and obviously Huggins who can go right back, but I don't know how long he's going to be out for. So yeah, hopefully he should be fit. Been playing matches all season. Like a bloke said on the air, CONRAD Tank says it could be. Is he actually? What level is the Premier League in Northern Ireland? Is it National League level? Is it League Two level? We don't know. Winchester was League Two last season. Come good this season. He's only 19-year-old. One for the future. Hopefully he'll get some game time this season. Hopefully he came over for the Sheffield Wednesday match. He said he sort of liked what he saw. He loved the crowd and the atmosphere and the whole occasion. But when you win 5-0, everyone likes that kind of occasion, don't they? So I wish the lad all the best. Trai Hume. Like I say, it'd be quite good commentating if two Humes were on the pitch at the same time, but we'll get there eventually.
I'm really looking forward to him, Denver Hume and Lyndon Gooch all linking up in the same goal to hopefully hear like 3 chance of Hume, Gooch. I think that'll be quite interesting to hear. Jack, the sign of Trai Hume then, you pleased with it?
Trai Hume?
Yeah, I think we've had problems, at full back for a while, haven't we? And, I'm not a fan. I've said a few times on the podcast, I'm not a fan of playing centre midfielders at full back. I don't think it really, you haven't got many transferable skills, and just sticking someone in there because they seem to be able to play with one foot, sticking a centre mid at right back because he's right footed and things like that. I don't think it ever works. I think someone said it earlier. It's great. I sort of, go along with that. I think when you've got less fanfare about a player and there's not as many players, not as many fans know of this type of play. It comes without any pressure. Complete contrast to someone like a Will Grigg moving. I know it's going off on a bit of a tangent here, but came with a lot of expectation and it never really worked out. With someone comes under the radar a little bit like this, fans probably expectations on is quite low. They're probably thinking, well, he's from the Northern Irish League. He's not going to be that good, and I think that might work in his favour. Do you know what I mean? He might come on to be a little bit of a go under the radar and be a bit of a cult hero. I think if we can, develop them on. There seems to be a good recruitment policy over the last year or two. We seem to be targeting younger players, hopefully develop them on, and then they can improve our first team, or even, sell them on later on down the line should they want to play at a higher level and they get to that stage. I think he's very young, but I think we've got quite a few Northern Irish players in the squad, haven't we? We've got Flanagan, we've got Carl Winchester plays for Northern Ireland. So we have 2 or 3 Northern Irish players that might help them settle, and players that, have, know a little bit about the league and maybe international setup and things like that. So yeah, see how it goes. I'm going into it with open eyes, and hopefully he does all right.
Yeah, is Corey Evans in Northern Ireland as well? Corey Evans, yeah.
Evans, Flanagan, and Grigg obviously was out on loan, and Winchester as well. Go on, Terry.
Well, Jack, the question I want to ask you, because a lot of comments on the channel at this moment in time. Have you got an audition for Greece after the show?
Is this in reference to my hair, Terry?
Yeah, looks a bit like a sort of 60s style, kind of 50s, 60s style.
It started off by me just not really being bothered to get a haircut. I just couldn't really be bothered to trip the barbers, and I don't know. I was just kind of looking. I've almost got a bit attached to it. I know most people.
It quite suits you, to be honest.
I think it does, Terry. Thank you.
I mean, that was a pink suit. Just grease the sides back a little bit, and John Travolta, eat your heart out.
I don't know about that. I don't know. I've gone quite attached to it being a little bit longer. I noticed Matthew Leeds popping up saying young Jack needs a trim, but he did actually compliment it the other day. So I don't really know what he's on about there. I think just going back to the Hume signing as well. It's I think it's one of them signings we've made probably with an eye on the future. More so, a lot of people are picking up on the fact that he's quite a flat fullback. We've been playing with wing backs recently. And I think a lot of people are saying, well, the wing-backs system's been working quite well. Bringing a full-back in might upset that a little bit. We've then got to play 4 at the back. A bit like getting concerned over system changes. That, but I personally think he's coming in. I presume there's a funny comment I haven't quite seen. I personally think he's coming in more with the mindset that we can, grow with us, and someone who's going to be with us for, a few years and something to build with, as opposed to someone that's going to be a quick fix. Speaking of, Terry, I'll start with you. Would you bring him straight in, or would you want to ease him in a bit slower?
I definitely won't bring him straight in, but there's no reason why you couldn't put him on the bench straight away, especially with all the people out with COVID at this moment in time.
Yeah, I think probably put him on the bench and not to bring him in, get minutes when you can. Jack, yourself?
Yeah, I think so. I think he might, you don't know what he's, how much sharp or fitness is. I know he's, might have been playing regularly in that league, in the Northern Irish leagues, maybe a step up. So see what he's like off the bench a bit, and if he can get some minutes behind him and get his confidence up. And depends what he's like in training. Do you know what I mean? Lee Johnson will see him in training week in, week out, and probably say, yeah, he's going to be good enough, put him straight in.
Well, he did say one of his comments was that when he's watching the Sheffield Wednesday match and when the 5th goal went in, he said he had chills and they were multiplying.
2 seconds. There we go. Much better. Oh, and it cuts out Dino's face as well, even better. Yourself, does he come straight in for you?
I mean, I don't think at the minute you could drop Giorgio with the way he's playing with the goal contribution. So, if anything, you definitely stick him on the bench and say we're winning a game, maybe chuck him on for Giorgio and give him maybe 20 minutes and stuff. It just depends. I wouldn't chuck him straight in. I think you just can't change a winning team at the minute. The team's playing really, really well. You don't want to really unsettle that. But there is time for him to grow into the team and get into the team. He just needs to get his head down, train, and just show Lee Johnson what he's got. And hopefully Lee Johnson will stick him on the pitch at some point. But I'm in no rush for him to jump onto the pitch.
Yeah, I mean,
I've heard he's very fast on the pitch. I've heard he's grease lightning.
Yeah. Why did I see that one coming, Terry? I think he's in unfamiliar territory, isn't it, at the minute, coming over I know Northern Ireland, England. It's not like coming from Germany, for example, but it is a foreign country. It's a very different league. It's going to be a different culture as well, and obviously I think going to be a different standard. So I can imagine them, getting him in training, maybe even giving him a few games in the under-23s, just to kind of get him used to kind of how it is, what we want to play and things like that, and then slowly start integrating him into the first team. And as well, I don't really feel any need to change it right now. Right into Yaku seems to be doing it right now. Whether it's a back 3 or a back 4 or a back 5, I don't really think anyone's sure at the moment. But, the system we kind of have seems to be working at the moment. A little bit more transfer news as well. Announced today, Will Harris, the under-23 striker, he scored, I believe, 10 goals in his last 9 games for the under-23s in the second Premier League, it's called. Jack, let's start with you. He's went out on loan to Barrow. Are you pleased with that, saying some of the younger lads who aren't getting first-team minutes getting loaned out?
Yeah, I think as long as there's some kind of a clause in there just in case, COVID hits or we get a few injuries and we might need him as a backup option, to be honest. I still think we are a little bit short, personally, in the forward areas. I mean, Broadhead was doing really, really well, but he's obviously injured now. We're relying heavily still on Ross Stewart, as our focal point of the attack. I would like maybe another option in there somewhere, whether it's like an out-and-out striker or maybe an attacking midfielder type, player. But yeah, if he's not playing regularly and he goes and gets 10, 15, 20 games regularly, then it will only be a good thing. But I just, with the way things are, I hope there's something written in there that will maybe get him back if we do have some kind of an injury crisis, and we need him for a backup option maybe.
Yeah, I think that's crucial, really, because he is a player that you can definitely see slotting into the first team in some kind of way. And we are only 2 to 3 first-team injuries away from probably having someone like Will Harris as our first-team option, really. But I'm glad he's went out on loan. I think he's proved this season that he's too good to be playing at under-23 level still. There's been a few times he's been given a bit of a chance. I don't think he's been given enough for me. It's been bit part moments, 10, 15 minutes of appearances, sometimes even less than that, and a couple of games in the Cups. I know he hasn't, I don't think he scored for the first time yet. He hasn't done a great deal. But I think, I think he needs to have a good long run at something. And, hopefully he goes at and like you say, about somewhere between 10 and 20 appearances should probably do it really from now at the end of the season. Dano, yourself, pleased with the news?
With Harris, it's a funny one because he was never really going to make a massive impact in the first team because Ross Stewart's doing that well. I think it's vital. I think it's vital to get these young players out on loan. I mean, I just think under-23 football does nothing for you as a player. You're basically just playing against a bunch of kids like yourself who are trying to get into the first team. So there's not much competition there. I mean, he's went to Barrow in League 2 or Conference or something.
League 2.
See, that's good. That's because like when you loan them out to like South Shields, not they're playing like standards lower than them, so you don't really see much. Like when Barley Mumba went out on loan in South Shields, he looked like he was the best player there, but he was obviously going to be that. Do you know what I mean? So at least with League 2, it's quite a decent level where it's not too far from League 1, so you'll be able to see what he's capable of as a striker in League 2, and hopefully he's really good. He scores a couple of goals, gets his confidence up, and he can come back and hopefully make an impact on the team. But I think we'll still need more players out on loan. I mean, didn't a couple of other players like Sam Weldon go out on loan and stuff like that? So it's good to see that the young players are going out on loan. Under the old regime, not one player will go out on loan. I mean, Patterson just sat in the under-23s. These players need to get experience in first-team football in the lower leagues, a league below or 2 leagues below, just to get that experience and improve them as players, because I do believe the under-23 system, you don't really improve a lot as a player. You really don't. I mean, Kimpioka's been there for how long, and he still hasn't really improved that much.
He's got to be knocking on for 23 himself now, surely.
Exactly. So these young players need to get on loan, and that's where you prove yourself as a player. I mean, look at Jordan Pickford. Went out on loan, and he's playing for Everton now, and England's #1. So you need to get these loans. You definitely do.
I think under 23s is good at a certain point, but you hit a moment in your career when you need to start playing first team action, because it is a heck of a lot different. I think we've seen with a lot of the young lads we've got in the team at the moment, they've got the ability, but sometimes I think, especially when we're going through that bad run, the struggle to get the grips with the physicality sometimes at first team football, and the intensity of it as well. So I think it is massively important that once you get to that level, when you are, good enough to start getting first team, ready to get it somewhere. And I think it was an interesting point you raised as well about Murray going out on loan to a division 1 below ourselves. It's actually testing him. It's seeing how good he is. The likes of Kenton Richardson going on loan to Spennymoor, for example, at the age 22, that doesn't really bode well. He might do well there, but then even still, it's still a massive jump to then get up to a League One standard. Whereas, let's say Harris does well, he comes back with us. He wasn't playing too far below where we're going to be. Terry, I'll go to you on this now. Where Will Harris getting loaned out to Barrow? Happy with that?
Yeah, exactly what the lads have said there. Just for me, it's good experience. We need that clause in, like Jack said, because if we do happen to get an injury with Stewart, we don't have really anybody else to come in apart from probably Benji Kimpioka. And who is better between Kimpioka and Harris? Who are you three? Who would you take out of both of them? Which one would you rather have?
Harris every time.
Jack.
Yeah, I would say the same. I haven't seen a lot of Harris, but he's looked bright at times I've seen him. I've seen Kimpioka plenty of times and hasn't really impressed us that much.
Definitely Harris, because I think Kimpioka's attitude just stinks. I mean, Jack told me about the time where he's arguing. I think Kimpioka thinks he's better than what he is, whereas Harris looks like he's in the moment, like he's like living out his dream kind of thing, whereas Kimpioka thinks he's better than us. So Harris all day for me.
Yeah, exactly. And going to a team like Barrow, where he's going to be the #1 striker there, hopefully, and he'll get plenty of game time, and hopefully he'll get a few goals, and we'll see what he's made of.
Yeah, definitely. I think it can only be a positive thing, really, if he's not going to be getting minutes at Sunderland. He has to get them elsewhere. And if he does well there, we might even still be able to record him just because he's doing well.
And also, does that mean as a striker he'll be coming in, Jack?
Well, I think that was probably what we were discussing, wasn't it, really, Terry, just before we came live, was, I think you wouldn't have maybe done that if you weren't pretty certain there was someone else going to be coming in. Broadhead's going to be out for the vast majority of the season, and we might make the last 10 games if we're lucky. We've got Kimpioka there, but as we've kind of touched on, I don't really think he's first-team material. So aside from Harris, you've got Aidan O'Brien as the only other first-team option there, and I don't really think he's quite at the standard to lead the line either. So I think in order for us to loan Harris out, to me, that indicates that maybe someone's coming in, which quite nicely segues onto what I was going to get into now as well. So a comment from Emma Hansen there's inspired this a little bit, saying, how many more signings do you think LJ should make? As a team, we have worked so well to resume for new players, even our players, even when our players that are out come back. We are expecting a lot of players to come back from injury over the next month or so, and we're already experiencing some coming back here and there anyway. Terry, I'll start with you on this thought. How many players, specifically in what areas, do you think it's crucial we sign before the end of the window?
Well, apparently someone was saying, according to Speakman, there's no players leaving the club whatsoever, apart from people going on loan. So if that's the case, I would have thought maybe 3 or 4 players. I think a good striker, another sort of decent midfielder, sort of maybe a leader on the pitch, somebody who can sort of back out the orders. Because, I mean, we've got Evans, who was the captain, we've got Bailey Wright, who was the captain, but are there actually, sort of real powerhouse leaders from the middle? Bailey Wright's doing a good job, don't get me wrong, but we could do with someone else coming in there for the future as well. Maybe it's like I say, another young lad, but somebody with a bit of talent, someone's got a sort of bit about them who can get in the middle of the park and really sort of, back out the orders, along with Dan Neil and Winchester. Probably another, I would say, possibly one more right back or a central defender if we are going to let Alves go back. But I mean, are we going to let Alves go back? Because if no one's leaving the club, does that mean there's no loanies going back either?
To be honest, I'd be surprised if I got the end of the window and West Ham were happy for him to stay here. Unless we're paying a large chunk of his wages. But then in that case, surely we want to send him back as well.
And I'm happy for like a striker to come in who actually has had a bit of sort of, who's got a bit of experience as well, not just a kid coming through the ranks. We've got Harris who's coming through the ranks, so we could do with someone now just to have the backup in case Stuart gets injured or COVID, and then we've got the strength there and depth as well, because this is the season we have to get promoted.
Oh yeah, it's got to be as well. I think if anything does happen to Stuart, that there's a massive concern over who comes in. You're probably looking at maybe between O'Brien, Diaku and maybe Kim Yorker as probably options to lead the line. I think we all agree that we wouldn't have the same confidence as we would in Stuart. Dino, I'll go to you next. Is there a particular number of players or any particular areas you think we definitely need to sign before the end of the window?
I mean, I would say maybe 3 players. I don't think you want to overload the team with players, because I feel like you need more quality instead of quantity. I mean, I think we're quite good at right back and left back now, because obviously Hume's on the way back and you've got Sirkin back. So I think left back's actually looking good now. Right back we've sorted. I do believe we need another striker, because obviously with Broadhead being out, I know Broadhead didn't play out and out striker, but you need someone to literally help Ross Stewart up there, and Broadhead done a fantastic job. So I do think we need someone like that. And I think we probably need, I know we don't play with wingers at the minute, we play with wing backs, don't we? But I think I'd like to see a winger come in. If not a winger, a centre midfielder. I think, Dan Neil's done a really good job there, but I think Corey Evans, he's very injury prone. And Carl Winchester, he's out, isn't he? So maybe a centre midfielder, a challenge for that spot next to Dan Neil. But you need to bring in the quality players. You don't need quantity. Don't bring in 5 or 6, because you'll just unsettle the squad. We've done that when we were in the Prem. That one season under the Canu, where we brought in 13 players, and all of them there was no quality in there. It was just quantity. So you need to just sign quality players. I think 3 players will help, but not overload the team.
I think provided no one leaves, I will probably limit it to 3 if we can. And I think it is the mindset of the current hierarchy of the club to go with, is they quoted a more streamlined squad, lesser players, but maybe more versatile players as well. We've brought in a lot of players who can play in multiple different positions, which sometimes makes up for not having quite as many. I think that gels you together when you're a bit of a smaller squad. I definitely agree with another striker. I've touched on it myself. I don't really think we've got enough depth in that position there, really. Dan Neil's one of the first names in the team shooting centre midfield as well. But Winchester's picked up a bit of a knock. Corey Evans is very injury prone and still hasn't really, in my opinion, proven himself fully when he has played. I think he's had a couple of little suspect games here and there. So I think another centre midfielder would go down a treat. And I think if we could, a winger as well. I know we are playing less so with wide players, but you want that option. What I've noticed about Johnson is that, he's picked up one of his nicknames is the Tinker Man. He likes to change things. I think that was one from Bristol City. He does like to change the formation of the system where he can, and I know we're doing well with the wing backs at the moment, but we've seen in League One how quickly things can change, how quickly form can drop off, and sometimes a little tactical change, maybe bringing out the wing backs and going to more of a flat back forward and using typically more wide forwards might help. So I think that's probably the 3 I would say. Jack Shields, yourself, is there a particular number or any positions specifically you think we need to plug?
I wouldn't so much say a number. I agree with what Dino said, though, that I think it's more the right players and quality rather than quantity. You don't want to go into a window and just say, we need 8, 10, however many players, because then you end up in the Paolo Di Canio, Roberto Di Fanti situation where you're just signing players and then hoping that you're getting, maybe 2 out of a good 10 or 12 batch. In terms of the positions, I think the lads have already touched on the areas that I would look to. I think the thing I've noticed in the games where we've struggled, your Rotherham, your Sheffield, maybe Portsmouth to a certain extent, I think we're missing a little bit of athleticism in the middle of the park. I think we're missing somebody that can carry the ball a little bit, a bit of physicality in the middle. Doesn't necessarily have to be a great big physical player, but someone that can use the body a little bit, get the ball down, and maybe box to box midfielder, a bit of energy and athleticism in the middle. I think we're crying out for that, because at times we're trying to play football, but a lot of the times when we've struggled, I think it's because teams have had a little bit more physicality, a little bit more athleticism than we have in the middle. So I definitely look to see if we can get a strong, energetic, athletic centre midfielder. Definitely backup striker, as I've touched on. I think Ross Stewart precious and priceless at the minute. But if anything happens to him, we're in big trouble in terms of goals, and he's a focal point for our attack. So really, we do need another option. It would be nice to see a different style of striker maybe come to Ross Stewart. We know all about what Ross Stewart's good at and how excellent he is at it, but maybe a different striker, maybe someone with a bit more running in behind, like the similar to the role that Broadhead plays, but maybe just someone of that nature, someone a little bit more running, a bit more technique. So I think that would be two. I think centre half, as we've touched on, I think we could do with a real solid experienced centre half, and maybe then a squad player. Maybe, as we've touched on, someone to play a few positions and maybe a bit of a utility play. So how many is that? 4? I wouldn't go too many more than that.
No, Dino, I know you want him, but just before we go to you, trying to say 116 people watching, 43 likes. So if you haven't already, please do give us a like. Just hit that thumbs up icon. Should change colour. We'd like to try and get to 100 before the end of the show on a Thursday. It's definitely doable. If everyone was to give us a like right now, we'd definitely get there. And just a reminder as well, it is free to subscribe if you would like to do so, and you won't miss any of our future videos or streams. But Dino, you're wanting in. And also, you're muted.
Sorry, lads. Right. I know you might be touching on this a little bit later down the line, but Parrot Roberts was rumoured last week saying that it's a done deal. I mean, does anyone know if that's actually happening? I mean, because he is a winger, isn't he? Technically, he is a winger, and he's meant to be a good one at that. So, is that a done deal? Is that still happening, or what? Does anyone have any insight on that?
I don't know. He is highly rated, though. I mean, he was in Man City's academy, and when he played at Celtic a couple of years ago, he did really well under Brendan Rodgers, I think was the manager at the time. Really looked like he was going to burst on the scene, to coin Micah Richards' expression. But he never really done much. But I would be excited at this level if we can keep him fit, playing regular football. I think he'd be a really good player. But I don't know if it's just how far along the line that deal is or not.
Is it a loan, or was it a transfer?
Well, I think the initial rumour was a loan, but I've seen today that it could be a permanent deal. But again, I'm largely in the dark. I don't know. I mean, I guess... Go on, Dino.
I was just saying, because no one's actually mentioned it, and that was the first player rumoured. I mean, Trai Hume wasn't even rumoured at the time.
Yeah.
It's mad that... Do you reckon that was just a coin to just... so it looks like we're going for one player, but we're actually doing business for other players. So it kind of puts other teams off who we're actually going for. Do you reckon that was a media thing?
No, I think it's just the way it's worked out. I mean, some transfers take a lot longer than others. I think it was Johnson or Speakman said that the loan signings of Diaco and Hoffman, which I think was on deadline day. I know it was really towards the end of the transfer window in the summer, but they said they've been looking at them, I think, since the previous January window. However, there were other players that maybe we'd only kind of came up on our horizon recently and managed to sign them quickly. And I know what you're saying. Maybe it could have been something like that to kind of throw teams off the scent and things like that. But my personal opinion, no, I think it's just a case of if some signings take longer than others, and maybe the Trai Hume one wasn't quite as complicated.
Fair enough.
I mean, just on Pat Roberts, I guess. I mean, we've got time. We may as well go through it. I mean, Jack, you seem to see a lot of positive things about him. Would you like to see him come in?
Yeah, I think he'd be a good player at this level. I don't think he's played a great deal of football. He would match the recruitment strategy of getting younger players in and then possibly giving them regular football and then them developing on. So it's nice to see us, if we are going to get him. It's nice to see us having some kind of a plan that would better suit the division that we're in terms of developing young players. So I think it would be really good. He's got pedigree. He's been in Man City's academy. I think he played for Fulham, didn't he? I might be wrong with that, but I think he represented Fulham. And I just know him from the spell he had at Celtic. Brendan Rodgers seemed to have him playing some really, really good football a few years ago, and he looked like he was going to be, I don't like to say a regular England international, but he looked like he was going to be, develop on to be a really good player. And then it's just kind of, he's gone quiet for a year or two. Maybe a move to Sunderland could ignite it. I think it'd be a really good player.
Yeah. Dino, would you like to see him come in?
I mean, yeah, I feel like at the minute, Sunderland is kind of the place to be for these players who aren't really enjoying their club football. I mean, they'll look at the likes of Pritchard, who wasn't having a good time of it. He's looking really, really good. They'll look at the likes of Ross Stewart enjoying his football. They'll see the fans getting 34,000 in League One. Behind the scenes, it's all positive. we're fighting for the league. I mean, Sunderland is kind of the place to be at the minute for a player who's looking to try and revive their career, because there's a lot of players who have actually done that. If you're a young player and you want your chance, I mean, you look at Callum Doyle come on loan. He's looked outstanding. Bailey Wright was out the cold for a little bit. He's come in. He's looked outstanding. So at the minute, I think Sunderland's a very promising opposition for a lot of players these days, whereas a couple of seasons ago we were like kind of the poison chalice, where it's like, you could go there and if I don't do well, the fans will be on me back. I don't feel like that's the case anymore. I feel like there's a lot of positivity around the club now, with where we are in the league and what we're doing behind the scenes and the recruitment strategy. So yeah, I think it would be a good place for Patrick Roberts to think, I could go there and really make a difference.
Wholeheartedly agree with what you're saying, Dino. Can I just ask as well, what do you think that's down to? This kind of new, welcoming kind of vibe we've got, and where players almost who weren't doing very well seem to come here and thrive?
You know what? It comes from the board. It comes from like Louis Dufresne and Christian Speakman, and then it boils down to the manager as well. And then it boils down to the decisions he's making, because he's brought in young players for the first team. The signings we're making are positive. They're not these journeymen who are coming in and just like picking up a wage. We're getting hungry players, and we look like we've got a hungry squad now. And it's basically just down to the whole change in the last couple of years of everything, down to manager, players and staff and backroom. I just think everything's just changed, and at the minute, it just seems like a good place to be right now. It really does.
My personal opinion, I think a lot of it boils down to Lee Johnson, and I know me and you, Dino, defend him a lot of the time. So maybe I'm coming up with a little bit bias anyway, but I think one of the things I've noticed about him is he seems to have a knack of his man management and bringing out the best in individuals. Even last season, as early as only a couple of months into his reign, we've seen how much White had improved. Yes, he had a better start the season than his other previous two, but he still came on a lot under Lee Johnson. I thought Max Power seemed to have a bit of a bit more fire in his belly, a bit more spark. Conor McLaughlin was one player who looked absolutely useless, to be honest, for quite a while, and then gradually got better under Johnson, became a real asset. And that's only 3 out of, I think, quite a few players you could probably go through. Serkin this season, I think his first couple of games, he wasn't particularly thriving. He looked a little bit out of place, and after a short while, he then started to, really, really improve. I think a lot of it's down to Johnson. Terry, we're not came to you on this yet. Forgot the question. Remind us, lads.
Well, it looks like, to be honest, it's Patrick Roberts. I mean, he was bought for Man City for roughly about 12 million when he was about 17, I think. And ever since then, he's been out on loan. So he's been on loan to Celtic, somewhere, Girona, Norwich, Middlesbrough, Derby, then there's Troyes. So he's been on loan. He went through the England Academy all the way through from the under-16s to under-20s. So they've fancied him. And then he seems to get to a certain age where I don't think he's obviously going to be quite good enough for Manchester City. So he's coming to the end of his contract now. So it's basically now or never. So he's going to come possibly, hopefully, to Sunderland. He's got a point to prove, hasn't he, really? Because he's constantly out on loan. He's trying to... He's probably been bought in by Man City. He's going to be some sort of world beater, but it hasn't sort of materialised over the seasons. So they took a risk with him. But, if we can get him at a really cheap price, I mean, 12 million he was bought for back in 2015. If we can get him for that, I don't know, how much would you expect to pay for a lad like that?
So we're meant to be out of contract shortly, isn't he?
6 months, I think, isn't it? So you thought maybe they'd want... Less than $1 million? I couldn't see him going for less than $1 million, could you?
Thing is, does he currently belong to Man City?
Yes, Man City.
I think they're at a point where they're not going to be bothered about getting less than £1 million for someone. That's just as good as getting rid of someone for free. I think what they would want is for someone to, if they've deemed him that he's not good enough, just to take him off your hands.
Make some space in the squad for somebody else, do you reckon?
Yeah, I really can't see them being interested in picking up what's going to be maybe if it is going to be less than $1 million. I can't even see Man City feeling it worth their time to go through the negotiations. I think they just see.
I mean, my personal opinion is like he should be absolutely fantastic in League One, shouldn't he? Really, let's face it. The quality where he's been at Man City, he's been abroad in Europe, and obviously the spell at Celtic, he should be great in League One, really.
Yeah, I agree with you. He's played at a high level already, hasn't he? So you would think so. Dino?
I mean, I think we've got a little bit of a nice relationship going with Man City. I mean, we're playing one of their youngest players in Doyle. Do you know what I mean? We're excelling him. Hopefully, to go back to Man City at one stage and hopefully break into the squad. So I feel like because we've done them that favour of taking a young lad and playing him nearly every single game, and making him improve his game. I think they would just say, you know what, we can give him Patrick Roberts for a cheap fee because they've done work. I think we could have a good relationship with Man City. Do you know what I mean? Do you know where like teams have we've got like a certain relationship with South Shields, so where we send all our youngsters to South Shield. Maybe that could be Man City for us. Do you know what I mean? Maybe it's one of them things. I might be totally blown it out of proportion, but I feel like there might be a little bit of a link there with a little bit of we can give some of our younger players to try and see where they're at. And I think we've done a really good job of Doyle. And I think Man City might see that and go, you know what, give Patrick Roberts a loan deal to the end of the season. And then when he's out of contract, Patrick Roberts can make his mind up.
I think a lot of times when it comes down to trust, I think so far this season we've done quite a good job with Doyle. You know, he's played more or less every game. He looks to be really enjoying his football, and he's part of a team that's probably playing a way that City's quite pleased with. So I think it comes down to trusting. If you can do well with one or two players here and there, then all of a sudden you become reliable enough to loan your players out to. It was this room I'm going to mention is just a bit tongue in cheek. It's just a bit hearsay really, but Cole Palmer is a City youngster, kind of in and amongst the first team. I think he spent a lot of time on the bench this season, made a couple of appearances. Now, when Johnson went to watch Newcastle versus Man City, I think it was at some point last month. A lot of people were saying, could it be to potentially discuss Cole Palmer or maybe get a chance to see him? Now, again, I think that was all rumours and there wasn't anything concrete to it. But I wouldn't be surprised if something like that happened, where all of a sudden they started trusting us with a few more players, and that's kind of how you build relationships. Jack, I know you're wanting in, but I just want to quickly say a massive thank you to Marianne and Carl Taylor, as always, tuning in over in Boston, Massachusetts. And hi guys, my prediction 2-2. They're going for a draw. So thank you to Marianne and Carl Taylor. Massively appreciate the donation. We would just remind everyone as well, it is free on the live chat, and we'll read as many of the comments out as we physically can. But if you would like to donate, of course, it is completely optional, and all proceeds go towards helping us running the channel. Jack, you wanted in just a moment ago?
Yeah, I was just going to speak, I think, about style of play. I think makes a big difference, because if you're looking at it from a Man City perspective, you're going to want a player that's, adapted, passing the ball on the bottom, playing, quick tempo. You're not going to want someone who's going to play come to Sunderland to play Phil Parkinson style, where it was just kind of direct and in your faces, try and win at all costs. So I think if we can keep on with that, in the next, year or two, regardless of hopefully we're in the Championship and still being able to do it, but we're kind of building a bit of a platform here, aren't we? We're decent style of play, getting youngsters in, either watching them grow with us or selling them on, developing them on for other teams. You know what I mean? I think it's a really good recruitment policy. We've tried the other method, trying to sign experience and players that maybe have a bit of a higher caliber, more experience at this level. That hasn't really worked. So I think for the development of the football club, I think this is absolutely the right way to go. And Dino's touched on Man City. If we can, got one or two in with Doyle already and one or two others. If we can create a kind of environment whereby we're developing players like that, and other big clubs will see Sunderland as an ideal opportunity to send them out on loan.
I mean, I think as well, it's just quite true for football in general. Clubs that go down the route of signing older, more experienced players, journeymen, technically the ones that crash and burn a little bit. I mean, QPR were kind of known for almost towards the end of the Premier League days, end up getting relegated. They've been like Championship fodder since then. I don't think they came back up when they went to sign the likes of Basinga and Rio Ferdinand, and that was just where it begun. I think Anton Ferdinand might have been. There was absolutely loads of players who they signed kind of towards the end of their career who weren't really motivated. You look at a club for me, Brentford is the one that sticks out, who were known for kind of taking players, of the age of 16 and 21-ish, looking to develop them, even sometimes with the intention of selling them on or, keeping them if no one was interested. And look at how well they've done. They've came from League One, maybe even the Championship, throughout the Championship, and now they're competing in the Premier League. Terry, you wanting in?
Yeah, there's Cole Palmer. He must be in the same England squad as Dan Neil, is it? It must be in the same team. They're both the same age, 19. They both play for the England under 20, whatever it is, setup. And say 3 or 4 years' time or 4 or 5 years' time, and Sunderland are still in the Championship. We haven't been able to make it out of the Premier League. You could see someone like Dan Neil eventually going to somewhere like Man City if he become good enough. That kind of style of play he has. So maybe they'll do us a favour, but in the future, if they might be looking down the lines and saying basically, if you don't make it to the Premier League with your plans, we'll have Dan Neil. I don't know.
I think Dan Neil doing quite well, end up with Man City, like, to be fair, but I can kind of see where you're coming from.
I think we do well to get Cole Palmer as well, to be fair. Like, I've seen him feature for Guardiola a little bit. I mean, I'd love it if he come. He looks like he's going to be a world beater, like, but I think if he does go out alone, it'll probably be a higher level than we're playing at.
Yeah, I think it'll be massively ambitious to hope for that, really. It's just something
that... Just remember, where Pickford is now, where Jordan Henderson is now, there's no reason Dan Neil couldn't be up there as well with him.
But I think the difference is, Terry, when they broke the Sunderland team, we're in the Premier League, and I think Henderson was
that's not Dan Neil's fault.
No, I agree with you, but I think Henderson was about the same age Dan Neil's at now. Correct me if I'm wrong, 19-ish when he came in.
And he didn't really shine when he first went to Liverpool, mind, did he? So
no, he didn't. He didn't. I mean, don't get us wrong. The sky's the limit. I mean, look at Jimmy Vardy. You took him until he's 24, 25 to end up peaking. So I know what you mean, but I think that'll be highly ambitious. Go on, Dino.
I don't think it's ambitious at all. I mean, look where Jimmy Vardy was at one stage in his career. He was playing League 2 or whatever, and now he's one of the better Premier League strikers in the Prem. I mean, Dan Neil has got the ability. He's very good on the ball. The only thing I would say about him, his decision-making, sometimes his passing can be a little bit wayward, but that's because he does risky passes. He doesn't do the set. He tries to make forward passes. And he's a little bit weak as well. Maybe if he hits the gym a little bit. I think Dan Neil could be somewhat... He's definitely a potential Premier League player.
Oh, yeah.
But with Dan Neil, sky's the limit. It just depends on how much work he wants to put in, because you see a lot of people with a lot of talent, but they don't put the work in, and they never make it. There's been plenty of examples of that happening where players, they're going to be the next big thing, and it just never materialises. I mean, look at Josh McEachran for Chelsea. He was playing for the Chelsea first team. He's going to be mint. He's going to be this. He's going to be that. And he plays in the Championship, and he's a very injury-prone player. So it all depends on what Dan Neil wants to do. If he works his hardest, I think he can get there. But it all depends on Dan Neil's mindset, and I do believe Dan Neil's got a good mindset. So I think he will make it one day.
Yeah, I think he looks quite humble, so I do think he'll go very far. And I definitely think he's got potential of playing the Premier League one day. But I've seen a lot of people kind of making a lot of comparisons between Dan Neil and Jordan Henderson. And don't get us wrong, I'm not saying that he'll never ever get there, but I just think it's a little bit disingenuous to compare Henderson's breakthrough, which was, let's face it, us in the Premier League, and he was playing fairly regularly, to Dan Neil's, who is playing in League One. And I know that's not his fault. And I'm not saying that he couldn't one day be a Premier League superstar, but I just think that, you got to think about these things.
The thing is, all right, if you look at them I think Dan Neil's got probably better technical ability than Jordan Henderson.
Oh, it's your favourite word, that, isn't it, Dino? Technical. No,
it's not mine. It's not mine. But I feel like he's better on the ball than Jordan Henderson. What got John Henderson? What Jordan Henderson did have, he had a good engine on him, and he worked hard. I do think there's like some... I do believe that Dan Neil's a lot better on the ball. And don't forget, when Jordan Henderson broke through, I mean, how old was he? Was he 20s maybe? I don't really remember how old he was when he broke through. Whereas Dan Neil's getting a little bit of more of a run in the team, where he's getting in the team a lot younger, so he'll learn from it. And if we go up next season, you'll have the Championship to find his level in the Championship, and then... I mean, come on, Burnley after him, weren't they? Burnley wanted him for 4 million or something. I mean, doesn't that just show that there is teams from the Prem interested in him, because they do see there's a potential there?
Yeah, and I definitely he's got the potential to go there. I don't doubt that in the slightest, really. I think we're more or less up on that topic there. I mean, something that I kind of had noted down. I'm just kind of bring up as many things as I can. Go on, Terry, go on.
There's one thing I wanted to mention, right? The team that played against Sheffield Wednesday, if we lost one of those players to COVID, would you be happy to call the game off?
No, although it depends which player it is. But I think we've got more than enough squad depth to change things.
So if we lost someone like Stewart?
If we lost Ross Stewart, that's a different matter. But if we lost someone who's more replaceable, then I would just replace them.
So if we lost someone like Flanagan or someone like Bailey Wright, you'd be happy to continue with the game? Know how thin the bench is, to be fair.
Yeah, but equally, it depends. If there's a direct replacement, you can bring in from them. I would, for the simple, fact of the matter, to just we're in good form at the minute. We're playing well. That's when you want to play your games. You don't want to be postponing games for later in the season, end up dropping off, and then having to play them because that's what's cost us in previous years. I would get the game on at all costs. Don't get us wrong. If it was someone like Stewart, who's irreplaceable, really, there's no one else in the squad like them, I wouldn't. But for a player where there's a bit more depth in their area, I would just say go for it and cut our losses. Yourself, Terry?
I think if we have the squad, the team that we started against Sheffield Wednesday, if them 11 are fit, yes, definitely go ahead with it. Apparently, if we lose one more to COVID, I think the rumor was Johnson was going to try and get the game called off. I don't know if that's true or not. Thoughts, Dean?
It's a funny one, isn't it? Because if you do call the game off, you're giving these players who are injured the chance to maybe get a little bit try and get back into the squad. Whereas if you're playing I'm making no sense. What I've just said there makes absolutely no sense. But I think the more you postpone, the chance you've got of these little niggly injuries. Shut up. It's these little niggly injuries that some of these players have got. If you postpone it, they've got a week to try and get back, if you know what I mean, and be in pretension. So it can go fire, but again, we're in such good form. But I feel like if you're going to lose one player, say Ross Stewart, I think if you lose any player in that first 11, I think you should call it off. I really do. But it's a funny one, isn't it? It is a funny one, to be fair.
Just on that though, Dino, let's say, for example, it's Corey Evans and Winchester's back fit. Surely would you then not just go ahead with the game and make the obvious change?
It depends again what Dean said. Depends who we have on the bench, because the bench is quite thin at the moment. So if we lost Alves from the bench of last week, how many more have we lost off the bench? I don't quite know. But if the bench is really bare and we've only got kids on the bench, then for me it's a big risk.
Equally, if we lose someone like Gooch, for example, now I know Gooch has done well recently and played a big part in the recent improvement in form. Cirkin and Hume are just coming back to fitness now. Is that not another straight change?
I do. Well, you know what? I'm going to look at it this way. Say we do call the game off. You've got more time to prepare for the next game, whoever that will be, and you might be able to get one or two more players through the door in the transfer window to try and bed them into the team. Do you know what I mean? Unless that's not a plausible excuse,
next Tuesday, Lincoln at home, Jack.
Yeah, I think that's what a certain other team in the Northeast are doing at the moment now. They're trying to postpone the game so they can have some players at the back end of January and play it then when they've got a few more signings. I think at the minute, the momentum we had, I was gutted that the Fleetwood game on Sunday wasn't on, because I thought, flying 1-3-0, 1-5-0, confidence there. There wouldn't have been like coming up there. I was really gutted we couldn't manage to get the game on. I'm a big believer in when you've got the momentum and you've got the form, try and get as many games on as you can. And I get the point. Ross Stewart's such a focal point to the attack. I think we would obviously miss him, but I think as many games as you can, try and get them on, because we've touched on Wigan, who are going to be probably challenging us for automatic promotion at the end of the season. If you look at the games that they're going to have, that they're already 3 games behind us. I think they've got 3 games in hand on us at the moment. They're also in both cup competitions, the Pizza Cup and the FA Cup, I believe.
As are Rotherham. Rotherham have got.
So I mean, when they might still have COVID postponements later on. So I mean, when they're going to try and schedule all them in, I don't know. But I'm a big believer of if you're in confidence, if you're confident with the team, you're in form, try and get as many games on as you can.
I feel that if we lose one player against Wycombe away, that's going to be a big ask. I feel if we lost one player at Lincoln at home, now that's a different kettle of fish, because we can bring in the likes of Cirkin and one or two others, just one player. But I think Wycombe away is a bigger test than Ipswich. I really do. I think they're going to be really up for the game. I think it'll be a really hard match. I mean, I'd be happy now to get a point there, a point away from home and win all your home games. So for me, if we lost another player in the first team to COVID, I'd be happy to give that game a miss. But like I said, if it was someone like Lincoln at home, then you could probably lose a player and still win the match for me.
But equally, Trai, I also think we're in a decent position at the moment now. Anyway, I mean, you know, we're on the back of a little bit of a rest with having the Fleetwood game postponed, which I know is divided opinions, but I personally thought it might have been a little bit of a welcome break, considering, you know, we'd played a lot of games in a short period of time. I think that was a nice little spot to just have a few days off. But we aren't completely out of it. You know, we played, you know, still quite recently. It's not a massive break. And we've also got a lot of players coming back now into the squad, as well as obviously Hume, who we've signed and potentially might even bring someone else in before Saturday. So I think if we were to lose one player, we're still in quite a good position, ready to go ahead and play. Jack, were you wanting in before, by the way?
No, I think I've already said what I wanted to say.
Have we all said what we want to say on that matter of the Wycombe game in terms of what do we do if we lose one more player?
I feel like we have. I feel like we've said everything.
I mean, this might be a good time as well to see how we think the game's going to go. If it does go ahead, we'll do a short little preview for it now. Assuming everything goes ahead, assuming everything's fine. Terry, how confident are you going into Saturday?
Well, if that first 11's fit and the same bench apart from Alves is fit, then yeah, there's no reason why I shouldn't be confident. The team's playing well, playing full of confidence, playing, you know, well for each other. They all seem to be happy and enjoying the football this moment in time. So Wycombe, for me, out of the last 8 matches, I know we've been unbeaten in 8. So Wycombe's going to be the 9th match. For me, this is the biggest test now. The biggest test down there. You know, they're not in fabulous form, but they are a physical side, and they're going to, you know, they're really going to try and, you know, do the best to upset the apple cart for Lee Johnson. So I feel if we come through this game unbeaten, that's another step towards the championship for me.
Yeah, I think going along the same lines of like taking a point and stuff, I think it's going to Adams Park is never an easy task. There's something about going away to Wycombe where they intimidate you, they make the game dirty, they make it their own. So I'm kind of largely in agreement with you there. Jack, yourself, are you feeling good about it?
I'm in two minds really, because I've touched on how confident we are at the minute, and we're in form, aren't we? Unbeaten in 9, scored 8, 9 if you include the Ipswich goal, 9 goals without conceding. 5 against Ipswich, 5 against Sheffield Wednesday, 3 against Doncaster. So look like we're creating chances and scoring goals for fun. I think if we can get the ball down and play football against Wycombe, I think we'll have no problems. What we don't want to do is get drawn into a horrible, physical, nasty game like you've touched on, Jack. It seems to be every time we go down there, there's slow and time wasting, and it's just not a nice place to play football. But I'm a bit more confident than in previous years. So I think, would I take a point? Probably not. No, I think we've got to be looking at. I agree with what Terry said, though. This is a big, big test for us. We've come unstuck here a couple of times before, but I think it's got the hallmarks of us grinding out a 1-0 win.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough game, isn't it? Really. Just before I go to you, Dino, do you want to say 136 people watching, 70 likes? So if you haven't already, please do give us a like. Just hit that thumbs up icon. It should change colour as you do. So see if we get 100 before the end of the show. If everyone clicking now, we would get there. Be greatly appreciated as well. Just a quick reminder, subscribing is free to do so. Very easy, only takes a second, and you won't miss out on any of our future streams or videos. Dino, yourself, how positive are you feeling going into the Wycombe game on Saturday?
I mean, we are technically worse away from home, aren't we? I mean, our away form is not the greatest in the world. I mean, Wycombe do have their own style of playing football. They're very physical, as Terry and Jack said. Akinfenwa, as much as he is slow, he does cause you a problem with his physicality. I don't think we do have a defender who can actually cope with his physicality. You've just got to try and bully him as much as he tries to bully you. The way we're playing, you would think, we'd beat them easy, but again, not every game's like everyone knows. You can't play the same every single week. We might just have an off day because we're down there or whatever it is. The pitch might not be the best for playing football. I don't know what Adams Park's like for the state of the pitch, but
probably not pristine.
Yeah, I mean, don't get us wrong. Our pitch is now special these days. I mean, that looks quite ripped up and stuff like that. So. On form, you would say we'll go down there and we should batter them like we've done with Sheffield Wednesday and stuff, but that's not the case. Wycombe, as low as they're not in the best form in the world, they are up there, they are battling, and don't forget the World Championship team last season. So it will be a really, really tough game. I do think we can come through it, but if we don't turn up, I mean, I think Wycombe could potentially give a bit of a walloping. So it all depends on, are the team up for it and will the team fight for it? And I hope to say yes, we would, but you just never know until the day. So I'm not going into it like, oh, we're going to smash them the way we've been playing. It will be a tough game, but if we can grind out a 1-0, I'd be happy with that. I mean, it's not always about how pretty the football is. It's just about getting the result. And I think the Wycombe game is just about getting the result. No matter how you play, just get that result.
I think typically with an away game as well, we seem to have less control going into it, especially a team like Wycombe, who will try and make you play their game and try and take away your assets like Pritchard and Embleton, who are good technical footballers who, you know, if they can nullify them, the game becomes a lot easier for them. And I think that's a little bit easier to do for them as the home side, really. So I think, like you say, going to this game with slightly less expectation, if we can get out of it alive and get out with no injuries and a decent result, I think the expectations are a little bit lower for this game, is what I'm trying to say. Score predictions then, lads. Jack, I'll start with you.
I think we've found it quite comfortable the last couple of games. I don't think this will be. I think this will be a tight, gritty, horrible game, but I'm hopeful we can grind out a 1-0, so that's what I'll say. 1-0 to Sunderland and Ross Stewart with the goal. Very
interesting. Terry, yourself?
Yeah, if we can play our game and not get involved in Wycombe's game, keep the ball on the ground, pass the ball around quickly, smartly, smoothly, we got some decent, skillful players on the pitch. I think I'm going to go for a 2-1 away victory. Keep the unbeaten run going. But a draw wouldn't be a bad result.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think a draw would be a bad result. I think it'll be a decent point looking at the context of things. We've actually won our last 2 games on aggregate 8-0, 2 clean sheets. And we've picked up plenty of points recently. We're right back in contention for top 2, you know, arguably one of the favourites again as well. So I think going down there, you got to look at it as a tough fixture. We've already mentioned about how they're going to try and make the game.
I mean,
try and nullify our assets. Go on, Terry.
I'm sure Lee Johnson won't let the team get carried away with the 2 results against 2 COVID-stricken teams who had just come back from a long layoff. Because, I mean, it seems to me the form of COVID teams coming back hasn't been very well. So I'm sure we'll have the team up and I'm sure they'll be prepared for the battle against Wycombe.
Yeah, I think this is going to be our toughest game in a little while, and it's one of them where I would take a point as well. If we can stay undefeated and not pick up any injuries or suspensions or anything down there, you know, keep bringing players back up to speed with, you know, minutes and getting their fitness back as well. I'm going to predict a 2-1 win myself, but like I say, I think I would take a point as well. Dino, yourself?
I would go with a scrappy 1-0 win, but because Jack said it, I'm going to say a 1-1. I'm going to say a 1-1 draw.
Am I wrong? Like, is that why am I always wrong?
No, I said Jack Shields. I meant he said.
Oh, right. Sorry, I completely switched off for a second. I always do when you're talking. I'm sorry. Coming towards the end of the show, there's one more thing I'm just going to try and slip in as well, if we can, before we finished. We've mentioned about, you know, players on loan and stuff and things like that. Now, Jack Diamond and Josh Hawkes are 2 players that have been on loan since the summer window. Jack Diamond doing very well, it seems, at Harrogate in the league below. And I don't know how Hawkes is doing, to be honest. I'd be lying if I had to say I had any information on that, really. Of course, we have been struck with injuries and COVID and things like that, which have made things quite difficult for us. Jack, I'll start with you. Try and make it brief, lads, if you can. Would you bring any of them back? Is that on your radar at all?
Depends what we do in January. I think if we can get if we can get like an attacking player like Patrick Roberts, for example, and maybe another wide player if we're after one, then no. But it depends, you know what I mean? If we can target the right players and get them in, then I would keep them where they are. But if we are struggling and we are hit by COVID and things like that, I would get them back in. It's all down to numbers, really, for me at the minute with COVID and things like that.
Yeah, good idea. Maybe do it later on in the window when we know where we're at. Dino, yourself?
The only player I would probably bring back is Jack Diamond, because I think he's a lad doing really well in League 2. With Josh Hawkes, I still think he needs that first team experience. I wouldn't like to think we'd bring him back just for him to sit around in the under 23s and sit on the bench. I mean, I want to see that lad get games. So if for me, I'd just bring Diamond back. If we absolutely had to, then Hawkes. But for me, I'd rather bring one player back and keep Hawkes out, because I feel like Hawkes needs that first team experience, because I don't want him to be another just person who sits on the bench all the time and gets no football.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think if we're going to bring them back, they're going to have to play. Otherwise, it's counterproductive. Terry, yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping one day Hawkes will be. He might be the one and only. You never know. But and Jack Diamond, if we play our cards right, he might do well next season. You know.
So, would you bring anything back, Terry?
No.
No? All right. Fair
Unless we get 3 out with COVID.
Yes. Well, that just about brings us to the end of the show. Thank you to these 3 lads for joining us. Jack, have you had fun?
Yeah, it's been good crack.
As ever. Dino, have you had a great time on your great Thursday evening?
I'd rather be in bed.
Well, you can be in bed in less than a minute, I guess. Terry, have you really enjoyed yourself?
Dino, who would you rather be in bed with, though?
Myself. Myself, and I.
Well, what was it that Terry was putting the room right?
That blow-up doll that was in the bottom of his bed earlier on.
You caught at the wrong angle there, Terry.
Well, it looks like Dino's got a special friend to join him in his bed. We would as well. So I say thank you to everyone for tuning in this evening. 129 people watching currently, still 84 likes. So if you haven't already, please do give us a like. See if we can get 100 before the end of the show. Remember subscribing as well. If you would like to do so, it is free. Very easy to do so, and you won't miss any of our future streams or videos. Terry, were you quickly wanting in?
I just want to say I've enjoyed the show, Jack. Thanks for asking, mate. Cheers.
Oh, yes. Glad to hear it. But yes.
Get so back.
Do your job.
Was that a jab at us? Or have I completely missed something?
Doesn't matter.
You didn't ask Terry if he had fun. You were just going to leave him.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I did. I went, Terry, have you had a good time? Anyway, after that brief interruption, thank you to everyone for watching. Dino, are you going to be doing a watch along on Saturday for the game?
Yeah, I think it's me and Philly because I believe you're going down to Wycombe, aren't you?
I am, yes. The return of Philly. Philly will be back for the weekend show. As well, the Sunday Bunch will be live as ever, I think from 7 p.m. On its usual Sunday day. It'd be a bit weird to do it on any other day, wouldn't it? So thank you everyone for watching, and we will see you the next time we see you. Bye-bye.